Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, not sure what to call this. Maybe it's a heavy thoughts, something that's been on my mind. Maybe it's I just need to get something off my chest. But this is about Lars Ulrich and all the hate that seems to be directed his way. You know what? I'm going to call this in defense of Lars Ulrich. Okay, because I keep seeing videos popping up on YouTube. Lars's biggest drum fails. They show clips of him live messing something up. I just saw one, Lars's worst drum fills. Another one, why everyone in the music industry doesn't like Lars or something like that. You know, and there just seems to be all this, like, it's almost becoming like a meme. I also see this meme getting passed around on Facebook. Somebody's Lars isn't even the best drummer in Metallica or something like that. You know, and I just keep seeing these memes and videos and things on social media like dumping on Lars, and I want to come to his defense because I like Lars and I like his drum playing. Now, I'm a bass player, so I'm pretty sensitive to drummers, and when I was younger and even to this day, drums are something that I do focus on. And the reason why I like Lars is because I think that although, you know, okay, I'm going to admit, is Lars Dave Lombardo or Gene Hoglan? No. Is he Neil Peart, Mike Portnoy, John Bonham? No way. But he's the right drummer for Metallica, and I can't really picture Metallica without Lars in it. And what I like about Lars is that fact, and the fact that he has kind of a unique style of drumming. And maybe it's because of his limitations that he finds other ways to contribute and be creative and add to the songs than what maybe a super talented, you know, guy with millions and millions of chops might add, like fast parts or something like that. And he tends to come up with other types of things that to me really add to the song in a very creative way. And his drums for me really stand out in a lot of the Metallica songs. And I think it's because of what I just described, that he's not somebody that's super over the top technical. So for him to, when he's thinking of his drum parts, he's, I guess, not thinking like a typical drummer. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. And I also think that he thinks like a songwriter. And if you ever watch, you know, the documentaries or behind the scenes things with Metallica, you can see that Lars and James are the primary driving force with the music. They're the ones with the songwriting. You see Lars going back and forth with James and about arrangements and trying and doing different things. And so I think Lars thinks like a songwriter when he's doing a lot of his drum parts. And I just think that he adds a lot of, they're very simple things, but in my opinion, they're cool and they stand out in the music. Now, I will admit that he can be a controversial figure sometimes, in the sense of when it comes to the sound of Metallica, like the snare drum sound on Saint Anger is pretty legendary for how bad it is. The mix on And Justice for All, you know, supposedly Lars came in and said to turn the bass down to where you can't hear it and then drop it another 6 dB or something like that. And I actually think the drums sound good on And Justice for All. They have a little bit of a robotic type of cyborg-like sound to them, but I think it perfectly fits in that record. And that's a good example of that album. It's like, man, it's like James and Lars just like playing off of each other for that whole record. In some ways, it's like James and Lars's album. And for me, you know, again, he may have some missteps, but when he does like the Saint Anger snare drum sound, I really think it's because he's trying to do something different. He's trying to explore different things. And I'm willing to give him a pass on that he's trying to do something different musically. And yeah, maybe he misses the mark, but he seems like somebody who who tries to evolve and change and do different things within the parameters of his skills. Again, he's not like a super over-the-top technical type of drummer. And the transition of his playing from And Justice for All to the Black Album, I really respect that also, that he started to play less, and he started to realize the importance of just laying down a solid drum part. I don't know how much of that was Bob Rock's influence. I remember reading an interview with Lars where he said that around that time he was listening to AC/DC and really appreciating how to play something very simple but very effective in the song. And I would say that he really achieves that starting with the Black Album. And in the last two albums, Death Magnetic and Hardwired, he's gotten a little bit, he's kind of, in my opinion now, he's somewhere in the middle. It's like somewhere between the Black Album and where he was during the Master of Puppets and Justice for All era, where he does do some busier things, but then he's able to pull it back and play really solid. And, I find it a little bit not right that people, they go and they dig through all these live clips and they find some clip of him, flubbing a drum fill or something like that. I mean, come on, how many singers out there could we go through in metal bands and go through, oh, look at that, he missed that note, or he's a little out of tune there. How about guitar players, messing up? There's Jimmy Page. Look at Jimmy Page when he played live. He was pretty gosh darn sloppy, but he's an amazing, amazing player. There's a clip out there of Eddie Van Halen, and I mean, this wasn't his fault. The backing track for Jump was like out of key or something, and I mean, every guitar player, every musician has little slip-ups here and there. And yeah, maybe Lars has a little bit more than the average person, but to me it's because he's so engaged. And when you watch Lars in a live setting, it's like he's just totally in the moment. He's totally going for it. He's full of energy. And I don't think I've ever seen a Metallica clip where it looked like Lars was phoning it in. I mean, he seems like he's there just giving 100%. And yeah, maybe sometimes he messes up or he trips over himself, but I don't know, man, who cares? He's there. It's rock and roll. It's about the energy. It's about the feel. And there's clips of, is it Dave Lombardo? I think it's Dave Lombardo playing, or is it the guy from Anthrax? I can't remember. There's a clip of somebody, another drummer. I don't know if he was just playing a couple songs or if he was filling in for Lars. And it sounded different. And whoever it was, I wish I could remember who it was. Fantastic drummer. I think it was Dave Lombardo or somebody of that caliber, Gene Hoglan, somebody like that. And they sounded incredible, but it didn't quite sound like Metallica again. It's because of what Lars brings to the band. And outside of Lars's drumming, I really view Lars as like he's sort of the business creative mind behind the band. I think of James as like the songwriter part of the band, and although, like I mentioned, Lars is part of a crucial part of the songwriting process, I believe, but I think Lars is really sort of the visionary for the band. He's the guy that's started the band. He's the guy that him and James started the band, and he's always been the kind of the driving force, whether it be on the business side or the creative side of the band or the direction that the band is going in. And yeah, again, they've had some missteps along the way, Lulu, but I would rather see them trying different things and sometimes missing the mark. I just don't get the hate that is driven towards Lars. He's an incredibly successful musician. Metallica is one of the biggest, if not, they're at the top of the pyramid there when you're talking about the biggest, most popular metal bands out there. The Black Album is one of the biggest selling albums of all time, regardless of genre. And, I give Lars credit too for the way the way he pushes the band forward, the way the band engages with the fans, you know, their YouTube channel, the way they posted all these old videos, live concerts and stuff like that. He's a guy that's out there. He does the interviews. He's not afraid to go on a talk show, to go on a game show. He's a great interview. He's very open and candid when he speaks. And hey, let's remember the whole Napster thing, right? Everybody was angry at Lars back then, but he was right. It completely changed the music industry, and not for the better. So, or you know, you could argue not for the better. So he stood up for the musicians and the bands back then, and he took a lot of heat for that. But I respect him for that. So let's give Lars a break here. I personally think that he's a unique, creative drummer, and for me that makes him a great drummer. It isn't always about technique and chops and things like that. For me, it's more about what does this person contribute to the band, and does their contribution to the band, does it make the band, does it stand? Can you imagine these songs without that person they're playing in those songs? And I can't imagine Metallica without Lars. So to me, that makes him a success. That makes him a great drummer. So, all right, there you go. In defense of Lars Ulrich, this was just completely off the cuff. I didn't prepare any notes for this. I just saw this video and I was like, I've got to come in here. I've got to get this off my chest. So in defense of Lars Ulrich, let me know what you guys think. What do you think of Lars and his drumming? Let me know in the comments down below. Till we see you again. Make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.